Good morning, class. Be seated. Sit down. Today, we're going to be talking about something really exciting. Emotional vocabulary. Leonard, why don't you tell me how you're feeling this morning? What was that? You're bored? Leonard, you did your homework. You used an adjective to describe your emotion. Everyone give Leonard a round of applause for expressing a soft anger or apathy word. Oh, what was that? You didn't do your homework. You are actually bored. Or Leonard, I'm bored too. I don't complain about it, but I have to be here. You know what, Leonard? I can pick some words on this vocabulary list as well. I'm feeling a bit antagonized by you, Leonard, or exasperated. Or how about indignant? Offended, riled up. Kids, did you hear that? Do you detect sarcasm in my voice? Leonard thinks I'm being snarky. Why don't you go home and tell your parents how snarky I'm being? And while you're at it, tell them I'm teaching critical race theory too. Yeah, get me fired. I'm ready to collect some unemployment and cash in on my Bitcoin.
Feelings.
Hey guys, welcome back to ADHD is the New Black. I'm Stacey Michelle. Welcome back to ADHD is the New Black. I'm Max Dixon. As Joe Biden would say, look, here's the deal. You all have probably noticed that ADHD is everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I don't mean, of course, everybody has it. I just mean that it's everywhere on social media. Funny memes, popular TikToks.
What ADHD feels like. Part 1.
Hey, do you have a rubber band anywhere?
Hey, do you guys want to come over Friday?
So I'm just gonna use your bathroom, okay? 1 sec.
Put a finger down, ADHD edition. If you
must not know.
Keith?
So are you diagnosed with ADHD?
Oh, finally home.
What are the best jobs for?
Hey, did you get the
I'll go ADHD hacks.
I got 3.
And that's great. Find out that there are other people who are going through the same things that you are. It's a community, and that community is more visible. I'm all for that. But if there's anyone here watching who doesn't have ADHD, let me be clear. It's not a funny meme. It's a disorder.
Disorder.
Don't get mad at me for saying disorder. It's not my word. It's
Science!
And I have no problem saying disorder because our brains are kind of disordered. ADHD isn't just a funny TikTok. It's a real lived experience, and it impacts just about everything. There's the emotional aspect of ADHD. Scientists have known for a long time that emotional dysregulation is common in people with ADHD and others who are considered neurodivergent. But did you know there is another aspect of ADHD that very seldom gets talked about? What is that? And that's our ability to express how we're feeling when we're feeling it. How often, when someone asks you, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling, Max Dixon? I'm feeling like a puppet right now. You reply with, or fine, good, okay, or nothing. Don't get me wrong, that's very common in American culture to respond with just a pleasantry to be polite and not really express what you're feeling. But in the ADHD community, because of the way our brains are wired, we actually have more problems finding the words to express our emotions than those who don't have ADHD. Many kids with ADHD are actually taken hostage by their own emotions instead of developing the ability to express what they're feeling instead of what they're feeling. Oh, I'm rolling. Hey guys, how you doing? I also struggle with not just naming my emotions, but identifying my emotions. And how can you name something if you don't know what it is? One of the first professionals to point that out in me was a psychiatrist I was seeing quite a few years ago who actually misdiagnosed me with having histrionic personality disorder. Can you believe a doctor would think I had histrionic personality disorder? I don't mean to make fun, I'm sorry. I'm making fun of me. I'm making fun of me and him because he misdiagnosed me, Dr. Flippy Hair. I won't say his name because I don't remember it. But I said, why do you say this about me? He says, you generalize your emotions because I wasn't aware of what I was feeling. And he was right. And also recently, my current therapist and my ADHD coach, they've both pointed out how every time I have to talk about my emotions, I kind of change the subject. So have you guys seen Top Gun yet? Here's something that has helped me with that. Emotional vocabulary. I have this little handy dandy sheet that I will post a link to it in the description that you can download it to see what resonates with you that matches what you're feeling. For example, although I love my dogs and my cat very much, I live in a tiny one-bedroom apartment, and a 100-pound dog and 2 other furry critters take up a lot of space. And sometimes I just need my space. So instead of saying something like, ah, I can pinpoint that emotion, annoyed or frustrated. Being annoyed is not the same as being angry. I'm not angry with them, but if I am angry, like if one of these animals whom I have ostensibly potty trained in this house on the floor because they're not getting that way, then that does make me feel affronted. It bristles me, exasperates me. I've done an episode in the past about the shame of ADHD. It is a negative emotion. It does affect how we feel, and it's not something we really want to talk about. Guess what? It helps to identify it and maybe use other words other than shame to pinpoint what you're feeling. Instead of saying, I'm so ashamed that I couldn't finish that report at work, guilt. Perhaps you're feeling speechless because this happens all the time. You always miss your deadlines. You're speechless. Maybe you're actually reticent to approach your boss and try to explain one more time why you missed your deadline. This is something I'm actually embarrassed about. Is embarrassed on this list? My previous career as a news reporter, I wrote the word reticent in my script. Now, mind you, I knew what the word meant. I don't think I'd ever heard the word said out loud. The word had never fallen across my ears. So I just assumed that it was pronounced a certain way. And so on live television, I used the word in a sentence. County officials are reticent. Reticent! They were reticiting! I was brothers and sisters, I knew it sounded dumb the second it came out of my mouth. And I looked over to my bosses who were in the studio. They were like writing my pink slip because of all of the same issues with my ADHD in the workplace that I've shared with you. They didn't even bother to correct me that time. It was just like, yeah, okay, reticent. I was very shamed by that and frustrated and flustered and angry with myself and a bit indignant and ignorant to my ADHD. So, back on track. The sadness and grief category, I felt disconnected, dejected, and discouraged. I felt all of these. I felt dispirited and downtrodden and drained and grieving and heavy-hearted and mournful and sad and sorrowful and definitely weepy. That was the first job I'd ever been fired from. And I felt anguished and bereaved of losing this job and depressed because I'm like, how am I going to make money? And despondent because I'm like, why do I keep having these problems in the workplace? And heartbroken and morose. But then I got angry because then I started taking it away from myself and blaming the people who fired me. I guess they had every right to. But the thing is, they expected performance from me under the assumption that I was neurotypical because I thought I was neurotypical, or I didn't even think I was neurotypical. I didn't even know what that word was. I just thought I was like everybody else. So why is everybody else having an easier time than me? Had I had more knowledge about my condition, I think I would have told them. After my first 3 major mistakes, they'll fire me, okay? See, what had happened was I got the ADHD. I wouldn't have come in the door saying these things, but I'm pretty sure when I knew I was walking a thin line, I would have just pulled that card. You can't fire me! The Americans with Disabilities Act. No, I'm joking. If I had known more, I would have definitely have fought harder for myself and sought out the accommodations to help me in that job. This has been very helpful to me to not only better express how I'm feeling and what I'm feeling and sound smarter because I have more words. Just looking at these words helps me to very specifically identify emotions that I might have mistaken for another emotion. I might have confused being angry with feeling abandonment or disappointment. Or this list of adjectives, like agonized, anguish, bleak, devastated, suicidal, tormented, these could help you identify if what you're feeling is at a level where you should reach out to someone and talk to them. Or if someone you know is speaking to you and using any of this terminology, then having this as a reference point and knowing what to look out for in how someone who might be suicidal is expressing their emotions, this might just be the extra safety net or the extra alarm that could go off that might help you help someone else. Thank you for sticking it out with me in this adventurous episode that I did not script. I was just winging this because I didn't plan. I did not plan ahead. If you've enjoyed this episode, or if any of the episodes that I've produced so far have helped you, or they've helped someone that you've shared it with, please consider becoming a partner with ADHD is the New Black. In other words, please give me some money. Consider supporting me on Patreon. Join the movement.
Here's your reminder. Thank my new patrons.